Sitar. Maggie and I have been working together for it seems like 5 years, but I think it's only like a couple. So I'm really excited to give you guys an opportunity to meet Maggie a little bit more today, and give her an opportunity to talk about all the amazing things that she's working on. So, Maggie, starting off, I'd love for you to just kind of tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business and kind of how you got into everything. And we'll start there.
Hmm. So I was introduced to entrepreneurship growing up because my parents owned a real estate and rental business. My mom did the real estate, my dad did rentals. So I was around flexible schedules, crazy schedules, the phone ringing into our home, lots of environments that most people were not exposed to because they would have never known what their parents did because they left the house to do it. Where there
Right.
was a corner office in our house, we had another office. I cleaned the office, I did all the things to support the family. And so I was around it from a very young age. Um, Fast forward, went to college for finance and entered a drawing for a free makeover because I was a tomboy, wore chapstick and mascara. And when I was sitting there at the tanning salon and it said register for a free makeover, I thought I was being kind of punked, or I guess it would have been back in that day, it would have been candid camera because it was so long
Right.
ago. But now it's like today's version of being punked. Like, yeah, I need a makeover. Are you kidding me? I have no idea what I'm doing. So I looked around and I was like, put my name in. They called me and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I won. This is amazing. And being in college, I had, I don't know, 5 roommates that we shared a house. And I was like, y'all come into this makeover thing and we're going to have fun. And I was blown away by all the things that I learned. I didn't properly know how to take care of my skin, if I'm honest. I was winging it. And it was Mary Kay. And so that's where my next level of entrepreneurship took me at age 19 as a freshman in college. Um, I went to one of the events, and I can tell you from that was 1994 that the room was electric. They were professional women in suits, supporting each other, encouraging. I heard a few people talk about their titles, and they were directors at Upjohn at the time, which is now, I think, Pharmacia, a big company in the area by the college. And I was like, wow, huh, I think this would be really good on my resume. The whole makeup thing was super overwhelming. I was like watching people do things or the women putting on makeup. I was like, I may or may not ever get there, but I just knew the base of this, the business, the supportive, the encouragement. We learned things. It was a totally different environment than my college classes or the friends I was hanging out with. So I did join, and it was purely for my resume. So I did earn a car in college. So the balance between classes, friends, cheering at Western, and owning my own business was intense, but I grew up in that intense environment so I could manage it. And I
Right.
did Mary Kay for a number of years. I did get what I called a real job, went to work for other people. I went to work at a bank. I did other things on the other side of school
Sure.
and Mary Kay. And close to my 30s decided to come back to Mary Kay, like, other than just kind of playing with it. I had turned in my car. I hadn't been doing the work. So I was away for a number of years and came back to it in a different stage of life. And that's when I really, really put in the effort, put in the work. I earned pink Cadillacs. People are always say, did you really drive those? I really did. I really did. I drove 8 company cars. 5 of them were pink Cadillacs. Why were the numbers of it? You requalified like every 2 years. So
Got
that
it.
was a big foundation in my life. Um, I met John Maxwell through the programs through Mary Kay. Zig Ziglar came to speak at Mary Kay events. And personal development has always been in my values of making sure that I knew that no one was going to take away the personal learning and application I would make. So I can
Right.
learn everything in class I could possibly do, yet what I would learn and apply to make my responses better, I knew that that was going to make a big difference. Um, so that foundation was great. And when Lucy, our youngest, who is now 12, um, came at a Mary Kay seminar. I was 39 weeks pregnant, or not 39. Hold on, back up. I was 29 weeks pregnant. I was safe to travel. Everything was fine. I wasn't high risk or anything. And my water broke in Texas. And I sat in Texas thinking it was July and our due date was the end of September. And they were saying we were going to stay there for 9 weeks. And I was like, hold on. Do you know me? Like, I don't sit still. Like,
Right.
especially then. So essentially that gave me another shift in life, that I came home with a preemie. She was okay. She came 9 weeks early. She was 3 pounds, 6 ounces. We were there for almost 2 months before we could bring her home. And I brought her home, and I had a 2-year-old at the time. Declan was 2. So my in-person Mary Kay business had to take a shift, because
Yeah.
it was super challenging back in that day, because it was face to face, belly to belly. There was really no online at that point. Mary Kay was very different in that exposure. So I shifted through a number of companies, and they went out of business. There was all sorts of lovely situations that endured in that next journey, that I was working to take myself into more control, and I found I had less. And so I finally decided to start my own business. It was about 3 years ago when I got certified with John Maxwell. I had added a neuroscience rewire certification. And then I would say shortly after that was when I met you, and
Yeah.
we were able to put together my website. That was a big leap of faith, of, putting it, all of what was up here, of all the years that I had truly been coaching. I had been organizing and doing things with teams and teams and teams of people, mainly in the world of Mary Kay, or of women, mainly with Mary Kay. But when I did an organic food business, when I did health and wellness, it was pivoting with men, sometimes couples. So it was variety. And I knew that with all that experience, it was time for me to put it to action. So then we got together and we put together the website and organized my mind and what I was doing. So
We
I can
attempted.
keep
We're
going if
working on
you
it.
want more
No,
questions.
I want to dive into the specifics too of the business that you're building right now, right? And have been building. I know you have a community, you do a lot of like leadership coaching, you're working with teams. And so I'd love to give you the opportunity to talk about those different like areas of your business and like who you're focused on, so that the people that are watching get an idea of, who you're working with.
Okay. So because of my extensive background, as you can tell, in my hands in business and development, operations, vision for so long. The first space is the Worthy Collective, and that is only for women, because of all those years in direct sales and network marketing, I loved having a powerful community. I knew that
Right.
community got me through the parts of life that you just can't make up, because you have an environment that can make you bitter or they can make you better. And that environment was powerful. And so with the Worthy Collective is meant to make you better right where you are, whether you're looking at scaling your health, your wealth, or your relationships. This is a very, very simple space built on building you and your worthiness. And we have a number of coaches and mentors, women who own their own businesses in like the biggest variation of scale, like fund management people, all the way to performance coaches, to women who have their solopreneur storefront businesses. Some have an online business, and they come and they teach an incredible message every Monday night online. And we even have our international um, member. She joins us from Australia, and so it really is special because it's a great space to connect. And behind the scenes, we have courses. Bree Jewel is a hypnotherapist, and she's one of our mentors, and she just launched 10 meditations under 10 minutes. So all of these great mentors come together, share their gifts. And so we have one live call, and then they offer different workshops, different opportunities to meet with them. They have their courses, and just so much so many resources and tools to dive in, listen while you're on your way to work, listen on a walk or a workout, or being very intentional and learning from real women. And so that's the first space is the Worthy Collective.
And I do
Then,
want to say, I want to jump in here real quick too, Maggie, because I've had a firsthand experience of seeing the start of when we just kind of like built the foundation of the community, right? But there is like Maggie's not like she's saying there's stuff in in um the community, but there is a plethora of information in there and connections. And so like it is focused on women, but it is really, in my opinion, a great place for not only women that are in business, but women that are looking for mentors or looking for other people that they can have conversations with that maybe they can't in their immediate friend group, right? And so like I think that that's something else that's just an amazing thing that you've built is like there's different levels to the people that are in the community, like you said. But it is a really great place for for women that are looking for more or looking for an opportunity to expand their network and figure out kind of maybe what else is out there. So I just want to like put that in there before you go on, because the amount of work that you've put into growing that has been just really phenomenal. So before you jump forward, I
thank
wanted to
you.
say that because I saw it from the beginning, right, and how we were planning and trying to structure everything. But it's just been really awesome to see that grow. You know.
Well, and with your encouragement, I think that, without your encouragement of, the vision, being able to say, this is what I'm going to do. And, the times where like, okay, and this and this, or that, like it wasn't like,
Right.
oh, yay, everything is awesome. It was the hard truth of like how this needs to lay out and having your input for the organization behind it. I do remember at one point where I was building it and I said, "Well, I just don't have that much there." And you're like, "Well, just imagine the person who comes now and says, 'Wow, I saw when there was nothing.'" And so I was
Right.
like, "Oh, that feels really, really scary." It was true though, because we all need to start somewhere. And
Well, and I think too, for anybody that's looking or like even thinking about like community and things, one of the things that you've done also in the community is it's difficult. Like I think people see um, people online that have built big communities and things like that. Like it is something that takes time, right? And that's just part of it, right? But I think what you've done is consistently added value over time, and that's really the goal, is like staying consistent but also continuing to add value, but then also leveraging, like letting other women leverage your network, right? And so like that's another piece I'd love for you to talk about, because I think there probably are women out there that are trying to figure out like how do I get out there more, or like I don't know if I want to build my own community, but I'd love to like be a part of something else, and being able to like leverage that. And so I'd love for you to talk, because that's something you've really been focused on, I think, in the last 6 months or so, which I think is an amazing opportunity for other women as well.
it's so cool. So I'm going to share about Martha. Martha came to our collective. She was a client of Lori's as a massage therapist down in Nashville. She moved to Kentucky. She's been retired from school teaching for, I think, 11 years. She taught for 44 years. And part of being a member, she earned one of my rewire sessions where we really worked one-on-one together. And I asked her, what's a dream or something you desire to have that you don't have yet? And she said,
Mhm.
well, I would love to lead a group of women who are retired with purpose in a peacemakers movement. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And I remember her going, what? I was like, let's do it right now. And she was like, wait, what? And so I took her through the checklist, and and she's launching this June. And in what's so special is that she is actually practicing in person in prisons.
Wow.
because she's drawn to serving, and online is different from her because everything she did in school was in person. It was never
Right.
online. She didn't have computers. It wasn't like that then, you know? And so, I mean, I think they might have had a little bit, but not like they do now. And so that has been something very special and significant because it's a space and place I would never teach. I'm not retired yet, so I don't have that place and the desire to support and encourage her. We're having a test call with all of our mentors for her to practice because we have a safe space, we have a container to be able to bring her to what it is she needs, wants, and desires. And hers isn't finance. It's 100% pure heart, love, passion, and being able to pass on a belief that she has in herself to keep teaching, to lead, and have a place for other women who
Right.
might be in that space in life from retirement where they're like, not really sure. And she has it all mapped out. It's so cool. So she's one of my stories. I know Bree, as a hypnotherapist in Nashville, she is working same thing to launch in a really special way to bring her workshop online because she's doing it in person. So it's the blend of the online and in
Yeah.
person that sometimes people want to turn off one faucet.
Yeah.
And I think that that part is a choice. It is absolutely a choice. I mean, you know, if you've never done online business, it can be different. If you've never had a storefront or if you've never done person to person business, yet what makes us greater is the willingness to step in. And when we have encouragement from someone else who's done the work, it's a different, you know, and we make up so many freaking stories in our heads about things that will never ever happen. Ever.
Yes.
It's crazy. So, in that space of the Worthy Collective, I learn more about women for what they want, what they need. And when they're ready to partner and be able to launch, then that's the most exciting part is we can do something together. And I have the platform, I have the space, they can, you know, and the support system to be able to practice. That's why we have Monday nights and we present, you know, in a very safe space, and then they can use that as product and gifts that they can pass on however they want for their own businesses.
Yeah, definitely. No, and I think Martha's a great example of that, but that's just the opportunity I think that you've created in that environment, which is awesome. Let's talk about your kickstart and coaching, and I want to dive into that because I think that that's something that is not just for women, right? Um, but that you offer, and I'd love for you to dive into like to that and how not only how you launched it, but like the people you're working with and what that looks like for them.
So, the Confidence Kickstart is a 5 session intensive. You did it. So, maybe I shift back to you after I share and you give me your feedback. So, it is for men or women. My favorite would be someone who is in a space in life and business that really wants to level up. We know that we've hit those like lids on our thinking, lids on our finances, and lids in areas that are keeping us from that next level of our mindset, that leadership, leading within ourselves. And
Right.
so it is powerful. It's very, very specific. It's a system in which I really get down to business. And I believe that that's what's so special is that when we're typically solopreneurs running our own businesses, we don't necessarily have a large group of people that we would trust with something so intimate as where do we want to be in a year? I mean, yes, where do I want to be in 5 years, in 10 years? Some of that, sometimes it gets too far out that we can't say, all right, your birthday is going to come in a matter of minutes and you know, or the anniversary of your business or the fiscal year, however you are, wherever you are in your business, and being
Right.
able to lay out those goals and vision together. And I come in like I do, in such a way, asking and reminding you to be clear with yourself, reminding you of your values, reminding you of what you've created, the celebration, the wins. And then
Okay.
on day 3 and 4, depending on how where we are with the answers of where you are, we really can take it to that next level. And then sometimes clients are like, good to go. They are reset and they are like, Karim is a great example. She owned a storefront business, and due to COVID, everything shifted for her. And so she was
Yeah.
referred to me, and she is absolutely exploding in her business because she allowed herself to shift. And that was just that little bit that she needed was a reset. Every once in a while, we'll come back and check in and we'll, go through some different ideas, but she gets a special rate a session because I have a foundation with her. So we don't have to start from the beginning, and
Right.
it resets her. I can encourage her and get her back on track. So that's the Confidence Kickstart. I would love your feedback as to what might have surprised you, because I know you've taken courses. I know you've been in sales. You're great with referrals. Like, you aren't new to business. So I know when we did it, it wasn't totally what you expected. So without giving away my secret sauce, what would
Yeah,
be
I
your feedback?
think I think what I'd love to do is talk about who that, like, based on the experience, like who that's really a solid opportunity for. And like, and I'll say this too, because you and I have had a lot of conversations that are more or less business and more on the like personal side of just life in general, right? But I think one of the things is Maggie's created a structure for people that are in that want real clarity on not only like the business side of things but also life. And I think this goes really, um anybody that meets Maggie or has these conversations, she has an amazing ability to like dig deep, right? And a lot of times for me that's hard, right? Like I'm a deep thinker in a lot of scenarios, but I'm not talking about those things a lot to other people. And so for me, there was a lot of clarity that came through in doing that in the way that you've um, developed the Kickstart. And so I think there's also a level of like you and I have a much more like personal and working relationship, right? Because we've worked together on so many things in the last couple of years. So there was a lot of things that you had kind of maybe already knew about me. But I
Mhm.
do think that there's a real opportunity for people that maybe, you kind of sit outside of their bubble, right? And so I think there's always an opportunity for people to have an outside perspective. It's very similar to like when I come into like a business where sometimes you know inherently what you should do as a business owner. Um, but being able to have somebody come in from an outside perspective and ask questions of like, well, why are you doing it that way? Or is the answer like, well, it's just how we've always done it, right? And so to me, that's really where the Kickstart is so valuable, is because not only do you have the experience on the business side, but also on the personal like development side and helping dig a lot deeper. And so for me, it was a big clarity thing. And I think it also is somebody that as maybe outside of your network, right? I think there's a real opportunity because it allows people to be like more vulnerable in those situations, which a lot of times leads to those breakthroughs that you are really looking for, right?
Mhm.
And so usually there's these walls that we're putting up that block us from taking that next step or making that next decision. Um, so that would be my, well, like, feedback. But also I just wanted to like let anybody know that's watching is like this is an opportunity to really, maybe get unstuck or just receive a lot of clarity on like jump starting into whatever you've been thinking about or trying to like work towards, you know what I mean? So, um I would love, as we got about 6 7 minutes here, so I want to give you enough time as well to talk about the John Maxwell and some of the coaching and things that you've been doing, even on the corporate side, the team side. Some of that stuff is pretty awesome as well. So I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about that. So if you can dig into that for us, Maggie, too, on that area of your business that you're growing, that would be awesome.
Of course. And thank you for that. I appreciate it. One thing I want to, before we leave that conversation, is that yes, I don't go deep for the life and business. And people will say, well, what's the difference between you and therapy? Big difference. Therapy is going to go back. And I am going to start from where we are to go forward. And so, yes,
Yes.
we're going to talk about some important things that make a big difference in that excitement and the procrastination that does show up.
Hmm.
Procrastination can be that fear. So I was thankful that you would share that, that you did it, you were willing to do it, and you allowed, and we looked at things, and I loved how I could see that, like, you're just lighter because you're, having a perspective and also reminding you of some of those reframes of seeing something that what felt like a test. Then you're like,
Right.
oh, that was so painful in the learning, and the willingness to refine what it was that you were doing it for, and sometimes
Right.
we just keep on this hamster. Oh, everything's great. You're really not going anywhere. So
Exactly.
in what I do for leadership, it's also that in a bigger room. With John Maxwell, one of my greatest excitements of choosing him to be a part of this, having a certificate. Did I need one? No, I have plenty of experience. The tools, though, were powerful. And with John Maxwell, I have the leadership game. It's legit a game. It's an incredible tool for I actually have 3 games, one for kids 8 to 11, 12 to 18, and then adults. And so I've used it in volleyball programs, and I've done it with numerous amounts of ages of kids, um, all the way to my son's AAA hockey team. And then also corporate rooms with business owners, independent, corporate, a variety. When you lead, it's a matter of influence. And truly, the greatest leadership we have is ourselves. We need to lead ourselves. We need to influence ourselves first, and then we can influence others. So, with
Hmm.
this space, I have the tools to come in one time and do a simple game that can create conversation, again, clarity within, clarity with the team. What's so unique about it, because John Maxwell has been around forever, he knows that our voice matters. He knows that it's important to be seen as well. And so, with the
Yeah.
game, it gives you a space that it asks questions. There's different parts of interaction, there's debates, there's different things that are going to come up, and each card represents the book that he's written. He's written, like, so I don't even know. I need to know the number. It's over 70 books at this point. So he has an enormous amount of tools, but that game is one of my favorites. Yet to move forward from there, if a team wants more than just that, like, burst of communication, input, having a place where everybody has a voice to share their feedback
Yeah.
and ideas, whether you're quiet or you're a loud leader. We're all different in different times in our businesses and our positions in the room, at the table. And so it really brings people to a really brilliant place. And from there, I can do masterminds, I can do lunch and learns, I can do a one on one. Like, essentially, it encompasses everything that I desire and what I've worked on since I was 19, which is a community that lends to a great support system, a space that we can take it deeper one on one, or you might be in a group within your church, your school, your team, in your family. Like, I've even had families say, "Can you do this with our family?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Because that space is so important when you're ready to look at what you do on a daily basis and be better than you were yesterday. That's when start things can shift. It's a little tiny shifts, and those little tiny shifts will really make a big difference. And we know that anyone great that we've ever followed, anyone, male or female, sports, education, or business, it's those little shifts that build consistency, and then we can show up with purpose and we can make a great impact right where we are. So, I hope that gives enough information on my Worthy Collective
Yes.
community, one on one groups, and then also that team approach for coaching and leading.
Definitely. So yeah, anybody that has been listening or is listening or watching these videos or the ones we chop up and all of that, I think Maggie has really created multiple avenues for people that she can help, not just with women in the Worthy Collective, but teams. If your kids have sports teams and you're looking for ways to help them, maybe off the field, that also is going to help them on and off the field. That's a great opportunity, and on the corporate side too. So as we wrap up here, Maggie, I'd love to just give you the floor for the last couple minutes, and just who is it that, I mean, we dug into it a little bit, but what would you kind of like to leave us with as we wrap up here, or things that you'd like, I guess, anybody to know?
I'm not for everybody. And recognizing when you're in alignment with the right person, it can be powerful. And so, what I love to do is have a simple conversation, because now that I have I can say a Rolodex for some of us, or I can say, I don't know what the proper new term is for it, but I have such an enormous amount of resources that when I do a discovery call to find out the clarity in which someone is looking for, and I'm not that person, I have an amazing amount of incredible humans that I have surrounded myself with, that I can pass you on to what might be the right person for you. And you'll know when you know. And the person
Definitely.
I'm looking for is the person who's ready, the person who is willing to step into a new space together. I'm not going to push you out and be like, oh, have a good time. Good luck. That's not how I work. I literally link arms with you, support you through the process. And I know that the life things are going to come up. That's also why I've gathered the tools and resources with a Rewire and with John Maxwell to make sure that we can get through those things and really make great transformation. And so, if you are ready to shift, my framework on my shift, the meaning behind it, the S stands for self awareness. You're ready to be aware. You're like noticing some patterns, you're noticing things that are off, and you're like, oh, shoot, that is not okay anymore. H stands for honesty. I always ask permission. Is this a place where you're ready to see what's going on? And if you are, let's go. Like, I'm the elephant in the room, but I'm not the elephant in the room that's going to leave you by yourself. I'm going to say, let's figure this out together, because I stands for intentional action. Action is great, yet intentional action is the next level opportunity. And then you get to focus. And that focus is so incredible, because you can focus on what you need to. And so that you can have the freedom, the flexibility when you want to do other things, because that dialed in focus is the greatest opportunity to shut your computer and get to your life, because you knew you did the things you needed to do within that time or with whom you were doing it. And last but not least, the T stands for transformation. That transformation, that's results. I'm all about results. The amount of success my clients have seen where they have doubled their income, they've multiplied their time, they've multiplied their efforts. Like, we've gotten specific about those numbers that matter, because sometimes it's money to people, and sometimes it's time, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
both. The most important thing is understanding what works for you. So I would say, you'll know if this is something intriguing to you, that we can have a clarity call, and I will be straight up honest if I'm not the person for you, because now I have an incredible tool and resources of people that I can pass you on when I know it's not me, or you just feel like we're not in sync. And I respect that. There's something beautiful about truly working with somebody that you know is going to work with you, support you. But the biggest, most important part is, I'm looking for somebody who's ready for change. I'm not here to change someone. I want somebody who's ready, who is sick and tired of fill in that blank, frustration, hitting walls, feeling alone, feeling like you're not making an impact, you're not activating your God-given gifts. That's who I'm looking for.
I love it. I love it. Well, Maggie, I appreciate you taking time and having this conversation with me. We will make sure to link your website and the ways to connect with you in the videos as well. And so I appreciate it. And yeah, I will talk to you soon. So
Thank you. Thank you. Wouldn't have happened without you.